Head Coach Miles, Coach Haver, Corbin Thorgmorton, Coach just what's that? Throgmorton. Do I have it spelled wrong on the name?
I believe so.
Okay, it's spelled. Okay, then I'll go ahead and I'll change that everywhere then. So, Coach, just kind of a first opening statement, kind of about how camp has gone leading up to kind of today and your last kind of final practice that you're having at home ahead of playing Texas A&M-Kingsville.
Yeah, it's been a great camp. These guys came out and worked hard. So we've been able to be successful throughout this camp. We've developed depth where we needed it. Had a very competitive camp. The offense pushed the defense, and then vice versa on other days. So, I felt that we accomplished what we set out to do, and now it's time to go and put this plan into action and see where we're at against Texas A&M-Kingsville.
And guys, both you guys on the offensive line now. Corbin moving over from the defensive line last year to the offensive line. Kind of, what are your thoughts kind of as camp kind of wrapped up and heading into this first game?
Yeah, so from last year to this year, we definitely grew. We were really young last year, and then this year we grew up. We're tight-knit now. We all kind of know each other's strengths and weaknesses together. We just have better chemistry all around. I think that's really going to help us there.
Yeah, I just feel like our physicality over the course of camp has gone up so much, and just the kind of team that we're going to be is really coming to get it shown now.
Yeah, and it's kind of the cliche statement, you guys are ready to hit somebody else. I'm assuming so at this point.
And to add to that a little bit, Yankee, as you go, both of these guys last year, this time, were both true freshmen. Corbin was actually a captain for the Kingsville game, started at nose guard for us. And going into Thursday, he'll actually see time at both O-line and on the defensive line. So just the growth that he was able to get throughout the course of last season, played a lot of snaps on the defensive side of the ball and really helped that group start to come together. And now we're going to use his presence on both sides of the football. And then Caleb, again, first action was last year and, then went on to start the remainder of the season. So those reps were just invaluable as we continue to grow, and it's going to start up front come Thursday.
And Coach, kind of the last thing from me, what do you know about Kingsville going into open up with them last year? What do you know about them heading into Thursday?
Yeah, and then Kingsville hasn't changed throughout the years. I've had the opportunity to go against them several times. They're a team that's very athletic, long, big, and they start fast. We're going to get their best, that's for sure. They always start quick to season openers and start the season off strong when they're fresh. So we're going to have to do a great job of breaking their will and wearing them down. We have to make them uncomfortable. We have to make them play our style of football. So we expect them to come out and give us everything that they got, but that's what you want in every game.
Absolutely. Open it up for questions.
We're doing the.
Go ahead. You can just.
So, Coach, especially someone with your background, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, what does it mean for you guys taking a step forward this year when you got talent just up and down the O-line? Maybe still young, maybe still kind of working their way along, but just you're the O-line, is usually the part that people don't think about until it's a huge issue. You guys seem like it's pretty set.
Yeah, I think when we came and we were really 3 years ago now starting to know what we had to do to be able to win championships, which is what we're striving to do year in and year out. It starts up front. So, we did a good job of building these guys, recruiting these guys, but they've bought in and they took onus in it and leadership. And to win championships, you've got to be able to win the line of scrimmage. So excited about that group, watching them go out, put it all together. And then when you have a good offensive line, then it makes the defensive line have to get better each and every day. We've got a lot of experience on that side of the ball, but we're still going to have to call in some young guys that have to step in and be ready to go on the defensive front this year. So I think it's just that experience of having those guys that have been through it. They've had those live reps. I just can't tell you how valuable that is going into this year two for a lot of these guys up front.
A question for Caleb. Really both guys. Being true freshmen and kind of going through, the trials and tribulations of a season. How do you think that kind of, molded you guys and molded the offensive line for this year?
Yeah, I would say that game time experience is a lot different than anything before especially as a freshman. So just going through that, and having that experience behind you, instead of going into the fire right away again, it really helps. You know, you're more prepared. You know what you're doing a lot better, and just that experience all around will just support you in every aspect.
Yeah, exactly that. Just not figuring out what's different. This was this way in high school, and now it's this way. Just coming in with the knowledge of everything that we do here, and the experience that goes along with it. It's just helpful.
Do you guys feel yourselves just like approaching with more confidence, approaching practice, workouts, that kind of stuff?
Yes, sir, I do. I think now as a sophomore, I'm more of a leader. More guys on the team look up to me than before, than just being a freshman having to look up to those guys. So definitely more comfortable now than it was last year.
See, playing both sides of the football, I mean, people don't do that anymore in college. You know, and especially on the line. You might see, you know, obviously, you know, a safety and go in a little bit, play receiver, but how are you gonna handle that? And just like high school, right?
Yes, ma'am. I have faith that the whole camp process has prepared me and everybody else to be ready to do whatever we need to do for this team. So I'm not worried about it as much, but happy to be able to help the team wherever they need me.
So that was obviously, you kind of monitor how many snaps he's gonna take, but, you know, I know we talked earlier and, you know, you move some guys from defense to offense and back and forth and, you know, but to have a guy who can play both sides of the line, I know you've got a few, but how are you gonna manage that? And
Yeah, you know, when you got a guy like Corbin that comes from a great high school program, played both ways. So you got to remember, most of these guys that we recruit here are guys that played both sides of the football, so they're accustomed to that. That is different in college, and just the demand that it takes to be able to play up front on both the offensive and defensive line. But Corbin's a guy that, you know, that's where his work will show through the winter and through the spring, and the conditioning that he's done to be able to put himself in shape to be able to do that. And we knew that we're going to still have to use some of those guys as they transition to the offensive side of the ball, you know, because he brings some attributes that don't happen overnight. He's a bigger frame, a guy that can move well, you know, at 270 plus. So he knew that he's going to be used all over, and he's just more than willing to be able to get on the field and do whatever it takes, like he said.
you know, all through camp, you know, obviously the quarterbacks rotated, the running backs rotated, you've got a ton of receivers. How's the line kind of handled adjusting to this offense?
Just reps. The more reps you take, the more accustomed you'll be to the offense. And we get good rotation still. We still get our breaks, but just the more reps we took, the better we came together into the offense.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. Yes, ma'am. Still had our rotation, but the reps were great, and just the intensity that goes with them is the best way to learn.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, you're going to play, I'm guessing, as many guys as you can this week, and everybody brings something a little bit different, especially your quarterbacks. Yeah, do you know how you're going to split them up, or just kind of go with a gut type of thing? Or?
No, you know, I think I haven't promised that both would get in the game, and they understand that. They're willing to do whatever it takes to win the game. And each of them, you know, kind of bring a different element. So it's going to be by feel and how things are going and the flow, and if we need a spark and if we got to change things up with the philosophy going into it. You know, the only thing that we're concerned about is coming out of there 1-0, finding a way to get it done, and each guy doing their 111. So you hear some of that cliche stuff as you go, but I know with both Liu and Leslie, they're bought into doing whatever it takes, and you know, they're going to have to utilize their skills and not try to play a different type of game. I think that's the biggest thing that I've been stressing to those guys. When you get your opportunity, you got to come in and you got to play your game. Leslie can't try to be Liu, and Liu can't try to be Leslie. And then we can utilize their strengths and use those different skill sets that benefit us. So that's all the way across the board. I think we got a dynamic backfield, and each of those guys bring a little different dimension to the game. So it's going to depend on the way things are going and, which way those ebbs and flows go throughout the game. So we're excited to, try to figure it out early, and it's like a big chess game, and who can put the pieces in the right places.
Yeah, without giving too much away, if you want to speak about that identity, the philosophy that you guys have, a little bit new coaches on the offensive side, what do you want the team identity to be on that side of the ball?
Well, we started and understood that, championship teams win the line of scrimmage. And we knew we had to get there when we came into this, and we didn't. It wasn't a wholesale thing that's going to happen overnight. It's a standard. It's an identity that is built and it's forged in the off season, and that's what these guys bought into. And so having two offensive linemen here today, and then defensive linemen, they understand the importance of winning the line of scrimmage, and then ideally, pass blocking can be fun, but when you get to bury somebody and you're getting off the football, that's what these guys like to play for. So it hasn't been hard, and they understand now that the run has to be able to set up the passing game, and we still cannot be one-dimensional. College football has changed. You've got to be able to throw the ball when needed. You've got to be able to set up sometimes a run with a throw. So everything just going hand in hand, and each unit operating to win and find a way to be successful at the end of the day.
And then on defense, a lot of returners for a pretty good defense already. In what ways do you think the defense can get even better from last year?
We can't beat ourselves. We can't have alignment errors. We can't have mental mistakes. We've talked about that a lot throughout the camp. Mesa can't beat Mesa. So we've got to do a good job of eliminating foolish mistakes, things that give the opponents extra possessions. You get off the field on third down, you get a personal foul. Some of the stuff that played this last year, whether it's because we were young or we just didn't play very smart. So I think we've had a lot of growth in that as we've gone through camp, and these guys have taken that onus and understanding that they've got to get off the field. We've got to do a better job of, we kind of had a bend but not break mentality last year on the defensive side of the ball. Well, now it's time to force some turnovers, create some momentum, create that spark when it's needed, and get the ball back to our offense as many times as possible.
And last question for you two at the end. You guys both mentioned sophomores now being a little bit more of a leader. Are there any other guys in that locker room that kind of have a voice that are leading this team right now?
Yeah, I would say it starts up front with the O-line and D-line. Cooper Mumford and Ryan Randall really stepped up. Same with Cade Street. All of us in the trenches there came up together, and we're all starting to lead a lot more now.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. Coop, Ryan, Cade, just the guys that with experience that know that the tempo of the game has started up front. Those guys being vocal and just showing that they can lead this team has been super beneficial.
Question for Miles. I saw, some true freshmen on that 2 deep depth chart. I was just hoping to hear from you about what's really stuck out to that from these guys and kind of the initiative they've taken to really stick out during camp so far.
Well, as you look at it, James, they just haven't blinked. The moment hasn't been too big. They're taking advantage of the opportunity that's been at hand, and that's the biggest thing I could say. Those guys come out with great motors every single day and putting in the work. And we were able to go out and find some guys this year in this recruiting class that had some very high accolades coming out of high school. So we knew they were going to be good football players, and they've shown that. I think the team trusts in them that they're going to go out and be able to execute at a high level. And they've adjusted to the speed of the game. The biggest adjustment coming from high school is, you might have been at the top. Now everybody's coming from that same realm. And how do I elevate my game every day so I can continue to get better? Those guys that have cracked it too deep are the ones that have shown they're ready for this moment.
Mm-hmm. And if you could also just maybe talk a bit about Troy Matias specifically, local kid. He had a fantastic senior season at Rifle. Just what have you liked from him?
Oh, Troy, again, is just he's strong as a horse. He explodes out of his stance. He's a guy that has that quickness. I wouldn't say he's fast when we're running sprints, but left to right in that short span, that short burst, he's a guy that's very quick, relentless motor as it goes, and he gets underestimated for how strong he is. He can move people around at a very efficient rate and very quickly. So, and he has a great knack for getting to the football some natural instinct things that you can't coach. So that's always helpful when you got guys with those tools. And it's been fun watching Troy and just continuing to grow. He's got a little bit of comfort over there with Cade being on the other side of him, and those two working together and having that comfort level.
It looks like those two can really put some pressure on. I mean, we saw what Cade obviously did last year and really be able to put some pressure on quarterbacks and also help with the run.
Yeah, and just the growth that Cade has had. He's one of these guys that started this game last year at about 220 pounds. Now he's over 270 pounds, so that's just being able to push the pocket with that extra weight is going to go and pay dividends for him as he continues on in his career. Now he's had some growing pains, I guess, as you would say, whenever you grow that fast. But we knew with his frame, the weight that he's going to be able to hold and put on is just going to be instrumental in his growth as a football player. And now he's learning how to use it. So when you can set the edge and you can one arm and long arm and do some of those things that it takes to be successful up front on the defensive line, he's just adding tools and things into his toolbox.
Yeah, your linemen don't look like young kids going up against some grown men.
No,
At times last year, it's like, ooh, they're so undersized, but they really have grown a lot.
yeah, Corbin's almost getting a little bit of facial hair, so the growth is coming. And, but with Texas A&M-Kingsville, they're a big group. They've always been historically big. They're going to have some big bodies, but now we have that experience, and the moment's not going to be too big for our guys. It doesn't matter what you look like. It's going to be the team that executes play after play. And I think these guys have really rallied around that. They understand it's not going to be one play or two plays. It's going to be repeatedly doing the same thing over and over and over and doing it correctly.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you. I know. Oh, you told me not to forget.